Hey there, what's up internet? My name is BlackLightAttack, and today I've got another NU battle for you guys. This time it's against a guy called Shadowfication, and I'm trying out a little new team here. We just got some new additions to the NU tier, notably Ludicolo. Actually, all together it's Ludicolo, Saucebuck, and Charizard. I decided to make a team with Ludicolo because it's a Pokemon that I've just always liked the look of him. Turns out he's a very powerful Pokemon. And I can see here he's using a pretty interesting team, definitely not your typical run-of-the-mill. Couple of like run-of-the-mill stuff like Weezing, who I am guilty of using as well, mostly to counter Sock. But then he's using guys like Stunfisk and Lileep, who you just don't see too often. So I am pretty interested to see what we're going to do here. I do note that his team isn't really weak to Stealth Rocks. No one is weak to Stealth Rocks. I think he's even got one resistance in Stunfisk, and that's it. So Stealth Rocks isn't really a priority for me, but I'm still kind of fearing what he's going to send out first, so I just send out Bastiodon just to be safe and maybe get up my Stealth Rocks. Again, it's totally optional. Now he leads off with his Tauros, which is actually pretty lucky. He's going to threaten me with an Earthquake, but luckily I know I'm going to hang on thanks to the Sturdy, which doesn't even activate surprisingly. And I do carry the Metal Burst, and Tauros is a huge threat to my team. Right away I pegged that thing as a threat, and I was really hoping that I was going to be able to maybe get him on a switch or something at some point, but I didn't even need to apparently because he let off with him. I carried the Metal Burst, quite lucky for me. I do try to go for the Stealth Rocks in case he goes for a supporty kind of move, maybe anticipating my my switch, but no, instead he just goes right for the Thunderbolt, finishes me off. So I'm going to go into my specially defensive stall drain regen tank of a Ludicolo, who is just the biggest troll in the tier now in my opinion. So I'm going to Subseed. He does run the Subseed set, and even though this isn't a weather team, he does carry the Rain Dance. Just to he uses Rain Dish over Swift Swim, and he just uses that to add to his regen and fire off more powerful Scalds. And you'd think that it could work with a little bit of synergy with my Golduck, but actually he's running Cloud9 to hopefully counterbalance some of the more threatening weather abusers that have just been added to the tier, such as Ludicolo and, more importantly, Charizard. So he goes out into his Mr. Mime here, sets up a light screen, which is going to be unfortunate because combined with his insane special defense stat and his light screen, I'm not going to be able to do anything with the Scald, so I'm just going to Leech Seed him and hope to just scare him out with the stall and just keep going for these sub leeches. He's not doing too much to me with his Psychics. I think they end up doing around a fourth, but he doesn't want to play the stall game anymore, so he decides to go into a different stall game. He knows he's not going to be able to break my stall, so he's just going to make me basically ineffective to do any damage to this thing. You're going to see how little a Scald does to this Lileep. Now, I had no idea. I had a feeling that Lileep was going to be really bulky after the Eviolite, but this thing is actually bulkier than Cradily, like significantly bulkier. It has no offenses whatsoever, but you see later, really all he has is Toxic to deal damage, and I guess he was just hoping to get a Toxic on here, but since I can't Leech Seed him and Scald is doing next to nothing, I really have no choice but to switch out. Luckily, this thing is basically going to be setup fodder for my Drifblim. This is the same Drifblim you guys saw if you watched the first Pokemon video I ever put up. This is the Calm Mind, Chesto, Rest, Unburden set. And this thing is basically going to allow me... I mean, everybody goes for the Toxic on this guy. I don't know why. Every time I send this thing out, somebody Toxics it. And that's not what you want to do to this thing. Although Toxic does actually end up being the thing that stops him in a sort of roundabout way. But I'm just going to set up 3 Calm Minds right in his face, and then I can't remember if I go right for the Shadow Ball, or, yeah, I think I go for the Shadow Balls before I rest off the Poison. But, you know, he's just sitting here helplessly picking away at me with Giga Drain, getting a little bit of regen from Ingrain, although he is at max HP. Oh no, I do go for the rest before anything else. So that activates my Chesto Berry. Now the thing is, when you actually activate this ability, you're kind of married to it now. You kind of got to commit to this sweep because once the Pokemon switches out and comes back in, Unburden doesn't activate anymore. It's not just on whenever you don't have an item. It only activates when you use your item. So I can't really switch out. I'm committed, and now he goes for another Toxic, and my Shadow Ball, after 3 Calm Minds, Stab Shadow Ball, still only does about half to this thing. That's insane. This thing is so bulky. I'm actually really impressed by that. I've never seen a Lileep before. I've only seen Cradily, and now I'm thinking Lileep is a superior option because Crady's offenses kind of suck. Although I did have a guy who was beating my ass with a physically offensive Cradily earlier today, believe it or not. Wasn't that big a threat, and I feel like if he had committed to a different Pokemon, it would have been more threatening, but I was still surprised. Anyway, so he goes to the Stunfisk here, and I figure this is a good time to rest off the toxic damage because eventually this is going to get around to killing me. And I know that that between the Thunderbolt and the next toxic damage, I'm going to be cutting it really close. And still not exactly sure how much this Thunderbolt is going to do. It does about a fourth, which is surprising considering I have 3 Calm Minds up. I guess the Stunfisk must have some kind of special attack investment, maybe. But he goes out to his Emboar, which is the smart thing to do here, because now I'm asleep, and he's just going to go straight for the Wild Charge. I believe this is a one-hit KO. Well, sort of. It does. Yeah, I am already missing a fourth of my health, but it does take me out, and that notifies me of him being Choice Banded. At least he's not Choice Scarfed. I can almost guarantee that with my defense investment, he's got to be Choice Banded. So I'm going to go right into my Banded Golduck here. It's actually Banded Golduck, believe it or not. This is basically my anti-Charizard Golduck. It carries the Aqua Jet and a Choice Band. Basically just hit Charizard really hard after rocks. And, outspeed him with the Aqua Jet. So that's why he's holding a Choice Band. That might seem like a weird set to some people, but he's just Cloud 9 Choice Banded. He goes for a Thunderbolt. I switch out to Ludicolo to take it like a champ, and he gets paralyzed. And you think that's bad luck? Wait until you see the resulting rounds from this Paralysis. I'm looking to stall this guy out with some Leech Seed, get him to switch out again, get up a Substitute, something like that, and I don't really mind the Paralysis too much. But even though he can hit me super effectively, I think it's doing around the same amount of damage as his Thunderbolt, so I'm not really too worried. It's probably doing a little bit more, but so this thing, Ludicolo is so bulky. He's such a troll. He can Leech Seed, he can Substitute, he can set up Rain pretty well, he can abuse Rain like a fucking monster, and then he's got Scalds, he's got Rain Hydro Pumps, he's got all this crazy shit. He doesn't really have a whole lot of weaknesses, and he's just all around a great Pokemon. But even though I get up my Leech Seed that's going to prompt him to switch out and do his Mr. Mime, and this thing can do a little bit more damage than the Clear Smogs, I keep getting paralyzed. I think I counted this. I'm going to have to count it again, but I'm pretty sure that out of 7 turns that this Ludicolo was out, he got paralyzed for 5 of them. So now I'm thinking if I can just get up my Leech Seed, I could be in good standing. It's not really going to do too much. If I can get up my Leech Seed, if I can get up my Rain Dish, then he's going to be in a really bad position. It's not going to matter. He goes for the Psychic and gets the special defense drop. That's the next bit of hacks. I got paralyzed off a Thunderbolt. I got paralyzed 5 out of 7 turns, and then I got a special defense drop. At this point, I land my Leech Seed, and after Leftovers recovery and the Leech Seed recovery, what I really should have done here is stopped looking at the power hacks and stopped already deciding that this guy was dead. I shouldn't have let my Ludicolo die here. I should have switched out, although I really don't know what could have taken a Psychic, so I guess my Electabuzz, and allowed Ludicolo to come back in, because he doesn't really have too much of an offense now that his Tauros is dead. There's plenty of stuff that Ludicolo could have switched in on with a quarter HP and still live. Pretty much looking at Stunfisk here. But I don't know if that really would have mattered in the long run, but I do let my Ludicolo die off to be death fodder. I go into my Choice Banded Golduck again. I'm sure he's anticipating something to just obliterate this Mr. Mime if he goes for it. I doubt he can one-hit KO because I saw he's running the Light Screen. He's probably running a more defensive build. He's running the Leftovers, Light Screen. So I go for the Zen Headbutt on the switch, knowing that he's going to switch out into his Weezing to wall it. It does respectable damage. It was about half. And I go for it again, hoping that he's just going to stay in and let it die. He goes me with Stunfisk, gets me with the Static. I shit you not, he paralyzes me with the Static. That did basically nothing anyway, and now I'm thinking maybe this thing is physically defensive. Normally Stunfisk runs a specially defensive set. Turns out that I'm just overestimating Golduck's abilities to use a Choice Band, and that I'm stupid for using a Golduck with a Choice Band anyway. I still stand by my Golduck, but I'm stupid for using it. But anyway, I see that now at this point, I don't really have anything to take this Stunfisk down. So I'm just going to go ahead and Toxic it to wear it down. He paralyzes me again, which is getting really annoying, but at this point, I'm like, it's not that big a deal. Electabuzz is basically made to just spread Toxic around, so I don't really mind the Paralysis too much. He's pretty bulky. He hits me with this Earth Power, and this is again why I think this guy has to have some special attack investment. That does a ton of damage despite Electabuzz's pretty respectable special defense stat, and despite the Eviolite, and that's just a damn shame at how much that does. Because I basically just have to leave him in the die now. My Golduck is paralyzed. I can't switch into him. I obviously can't switch into my Rapidash because he's going to die to that. So I decided to go into my Rapidash, knowing it's the only thing I have left that outspeeds it. Go for the Flare Blitz, just praying that I'm not going to get the static this time. And knowing that if he switches into Weezing, he's still going to do a decent chunk of damage. Now, I asked him if he thought that crit mattered. He said no, it is only specially defensive. So I still don't know if he had any special attack investment, but I think he did. Either that or I'm severely underestimating Stunfisk's power. But so now I'm sitting here with a Rapidash that's only got recoil moves aside from low kick, which isn't going to do shit to Weezing, and a Golduck that's paralyzed and is about to start taking Thunderbolts, because I know he carries the Thunderbolt, but really what other choice do I have? I'm going in trying to get some damage on this Weezing with the Zen Headbutt, get fully paralyzed again. He goes for the Thunderbolt and finishes off my Golduck, and at this point I know I've lost pretty much due to hacks, which is very disappointing. For some reason, the RNG gods were just not with me today. They did not want me to win this game. I had this game in the bag. As soon as his Tauros dropped, I knew I had this game in the bag, and the random number generator had some other ideas. The end of this game is just a little bit of a stall war between this Rapidash and this Weezing. I do carry the Morning Sun, but really I know in the long run there's not really too much that I can do to actually hurt this thing. My Flare Blitzes are doing a respectable amount of damage, but he's also doing a respectable amount of damage because Rapidash is not a bulky Pokemon. And between the amount of damage that Weezing rather is putting out and the recoil damage from Flare Blitz and Life Orb, this thing isn't really going to be able to live. Gets me paralyzed a 4th time. That is 4 of my Pokemon that got paralyzed. Just want to point that out. At this point, it didn't really matter. I had already lost. There wasn't really too much I could have done. But I just want to point out that he gets another Paralysis on Thunderbolt, which I believe is a 10% chance. That's just ridiculous. And I even mentioned to him in the chat, I was like, I don't know why I'm stalling. I don't know why I'm going for Morning Suns. But, you know, he even said, you pretty much won this game, and the game won it for me. The game decided that I was going to win, and I agreed with that. So he's going to finish me off with the Thunderbolt finally. Just as a last fuck you from the game, it's a critical hit, and that is the end of the game. So that's how the random number generator can fuck you up even if you're winning. Even though it was actually kind of frustrating just to watch this back, I did think this was a pretty entertaining game. Really, at the end of the day, when it comes to power hacks like that, you can't do anything but laugh. They were just so bad it was comedic. So I hope you guys enjoyed the game. As always, you can leave me a like if you liked it, and I'm probably at PAX right now. I'll be putting this on the scheduled uploader if it actually decides to work for once. And yeah, I hope that you guys will tune in for my vlogs, which should be coming up shortly. Thanks, bye now.